What's up, nerds? Today we're just gonna go ahead and run it back with part 2 of comparing old magic to sorcery. So let's go ahead and hop right into it. Now it's Fireball's turn. They both have the ability to hit several targets. Sorcery going for the obvious if you choose to position poorly and stack, blow them up approach, and Magic saying more mana, more damage, more targets. Sorcery's Fireball has its downside of a creature being in the way of what you actually want to hit. Then you need to deal with that problem beforehand, and Magic's downside being a mana siphon. Although in my mind a Fireball would hit a single target, but maybe that's just all the Street Fighter I've been playing. Juggernaut and Purge Juggernaut. Not only having the similarity in the art, their effects are pretty much the same as well. Although Sorcery's card lives up to the name a bit more, in my opinion. I'd like to point out that both have a vehicle and both have a large pointy-nosed goblin on it. I don't know about you, but when I think Juggernaut, I think of a one-man army. Both cards share the theme of not being able to control the fact that they are performing an action, with Magic's card being a 4-mana 5/3, which is kind of insanely powerful for back then. Seriously, most cards have 5 attack or higher tend to have some kind of crazy drawback. A strong card, but Sorcery's Juggernaut force moves itself and then kills everything. It is a ticking time bomb of anxiety coming for everything you love, although you can only have 2 copies in the deck and Magic gets 4. Next we have Psionic Blast, a pretty recognizable art in Magic, and is one of the rare occasions where a blue spell just flat out deals damage, although dealing some to yourself. On the other hand, you have Sorcery Psionic Blast, only dealing 1 damage but disabling everything here. It's pretty massive and could cause some nasty plays, being that disabling cards turns them into playing cards, can't attack, can't defend itself, can't move, can't use abilities, pretty much a punching bag. The only real downside is that the card has to be cast inside the same square the spellcaster is in. My personal favorite color in Magic is black, and with black comes returning cards from the graveyard. Raise Dead in Sorcery makes me softer than an old banana. For 4 mana, you get to summon a random dead minion. Could be the most useless shit that died this game, and for 4 mana too. I don't care that it comes directly to the field. The random part of this card makes it unrunnable in my mind. Now Magic's Raise Dead, on the other hand, costs 1 single mana. Sure, it doesn't come into play, but it costs 1 mana. I ain't bitching. There is nothing like your opponent knowing that the big bad they just used their kill spell for is coming back. I give Sorcery's version shit, but you can summon the creature anywhere on the board, so I guess that's a plus. I don't know. Another shared name between the 2 games is Unlikely Alliance. I have to say the art on Magic's card is adorable and I love it. The 2 cards have very different effects, however. Magic's iteration is a buff card that isn't allowed to be used during combat phase, so you would have to telegraph your intentions. It also doesn't have a limit to the amount of times you get to do it, like a good amount of the older cards do. Sorcery's card, on the other hand, allows you to draw between 1 and 4 cards depending on the amount of creatures and their rarities you have on the field. This is personally one of my favorite draw card spells in Sorcery, and is not difficult at all to get at least 3 cards off of it for 4 mana. Raining from above, we have Meteor Shower. Magic's card gives you quite a lot of freedom, only limited by the fact that you have to pay 2x per damage, which I find strange because there are some seriously strong cards we will go over later, allowing you to strike whatever you want, with the only downside being you'd have to spend 11 mana to do 6 damage. Sorcery's card with the same name is costly, period. 9 mana and Sorcery is 1 shy of securing half of the playable arena. The cost is worth it though, allowing you to pick sites that do not border one another, but dealing massive damage in an AoE. If your opponent has poor positioning, they're about to have a bad day. The card I had to face the power of is Flood. Both arts are similar, but really, how else do you depict a flood? Sorcery's Flood is more of a card that sets you up. You might want to increase the size of your body of water by using the opponent's sites while removing their ability to utilize the affected site's original threshold. It is a very effective card that's relatively cheap, and if your opponent is not using the water resource, it can really hurt them. Magic's Flood is also a very useful card, a 1 mana cost enchantment that allows you to tap a non-flying creature for 2 blue. This could be used to stall your opponent's attack attacks or used to create openings for your creatures. With it not needing to be tapped for use, you can tap multiple different defenders. Next up is a pretty vanilla card on both sides, Sea Serpent. This is another card where I feel it paints a landscape environment in your head. In Sorcery, it's water bound and of course can go underwater. And in Magic, if your opponent doesn't have an island, it can attack. And if you don't have an island, it dies, as if it were water bound and can't hit your enemy sites if there's no water. You can't help but think, did they just make this card to nod at Magic? There are other water-based creatures in Magic that follow the same trope, like this big ugly motherfucker. I love the art and how it depicts how large the fish is, but again, we see this idea that the mana builds a landscape in which the creatures can fight on. Keeping to the idea of creatures that are waterbound, we have the giant shark. They are both waterbound minions in both games. Let's be honest, it makes perfect sense. Magic Shark is kind of odd. I get that there's the blood in the water and it causes the shark to go into a frenzy. It just seems a little goofy to pull off just to get the little bit of extra attack. And it's not like the shark is weak either, so you'd have to be trying to kill a fat ass creature to need to hit it with a spell and need the shark to hit it for 6, and there are probably easier ways to get it there. It's not like Sorcery Shark is a big winner here either. Sure, it's a pretty big creature, but it will auto attack anything that gets into the body of water, but that also includes your own creatures. I feel like the only way Shark is usable is by playing 2 colors or control, and a shark is one of the few creatures in your deck. Sticking to the water, we've got Riptide. For Sorcery, it's a simple move an adjacent unit here, draw a card. It can be useful to reposition yourself or pulling the enemy closer, and there's nothing wrong with drawing a card. Magic's card with the same name is a bit odd to me. It's purely a stall card, or maybe you're just splashing blue just to use this one spell, but if you're playing blue creatures of your own, it's pretty bad. And of course your opponent also has to be playing blue for it to even matter. Kind of a all around, you wouldn't see this in my deck kind of card. Going spoopy, we have Ghost Ship, both having a comeback from the grave type effect. Magic's Ghost Ship is a 2/4 for 4, and for 3 blue it can regenerate. Good in a pinch, could be a pain, but not all that powerful in the stat department. Sorcery's Ghost Ship packs a bigger punch, being a 5/5, but you're only able to have 2 in the deck. Keeping with the bring back things from the dead theme, it does not bring itself back. It brings other spirits back from either cemetery when moving to a site from the void, making it a target for kill spells. Of course, Void Walk makes this a little bit more complicated, but if Ghost Ship wants to use its ability, it will put itself in harm's way. When its effect is triggered, there are some pretty insane synergies, like using Ultimate Horror to bring back all other dead Voidwalk creatures back from the cemetery, making Ghost Ship a viable card if not a must in Spirit decks. Now this is where the video shifts over to where we talk about old Magic cards that I found that I think are either interesting, too strong, or ass. Let's get into that. You might notice that a few of these cards are red or help red, like Gauntlet of Might. I feel like this card is versatile. Either your board is filled with creatures and 1/1 helps them out, or you've got large creatures you need to get out and it helps you get those out. I just don't understand how it's okay to get permanent 2 times mana. The real downside is that you'll need something to give you card draw, and if you're up against red, you boost them as well. I'm just including Battle Frenzy because it has butt cheeks, and that's funny. Oh, and Bone Shaman is just a fucking metal singer born in the wrong era. So this next one is another one I would probably put into a deck. Mindstab Thul, 3 mana, 2/2, that if you land a direct hit, you can sack it, and the player that is taking the damage has to discard 3 cards, and no damage is dealt. 1, this is strong as fuck if you land the hit. 2, this effect where you choose not to deal damage, I had never seen before Sorcery, either with Dame Bredemart, where you choose not to deal the damage for the effect, and then I read these cards because there are multiple that do this, and I was surprised to see yet another effect I had never noticed in Magic. There really is a reason Magic has become what it is. So, land destruction. I know white has all the board wipes, but balance is off its fucking rocking rocker. All I can envision is someone getting mana screwed a few turns in a row, and for 2 mana wipes the enemy board and resets. Or for any reason you lose all your creatures, you just equalize the field with 2 mana. Like, why are these old cards so insane? With this next card, you would have to play the whole deck around it, but choose whatever 2 colors, or even a colorless deck for that matter, to use, but the card would completely shut down someone with the wrong colors, and it's Naked Singularity. It might not be the strongest, with it having a cumulative upkeep of 3, but swapping the colors of all mana produced could 100% handicap a player. I don't know if you've noticed yet, but I like goofy cards that in the right circumstances would completely destroy someone. Not playing the absolute best cards. I don't know what's wrong with me, but this card seems awesome. Well, that's it for this one, guys. I have plenty more to go through, so if you liked the video, please subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one if you want to see more of the same stuff.